This is the best boss fight I have ever played. This boss fight exceeded my expectations in every single way and made me think differently of boss fights of this caliber in terms of scale, music, presentation, graphics, engagement, mechanics, length, and even vibes. So let me tell you why. The fight starts with you, Clive, fighting Hugo, and both of you are humans. That is not in this video. I cut that out. That's not the main part I want to talk about. And then we get to this part. Pretty much what's going on right now is both of you are turning into your icon forms, which is pretty much like these forms where they kind of turn into gods. So Hugo is going to be turning into Titan, and Clive, he's going to be turning into Ifrit, and you pretty much get to fight each other as these godly forms. So from here on out, we're actually going to be fighting in these icon forms, and I don't think we actually go back to our human forms, which is interesting. The reason I want to mention this is because usually me personally, when there's boss fights in games, the best boss fights hands down is when you're fighting like a humanoid, when you're fighting like another human character. When you're just fighting grunts or you're just fighting like random monster and stuff, is not as satisfying, so I like fighting humans better. And when it's something like this, especially when you're just fighting some big ass monster, I usually dislike it a lot. But this game has completely changed my opinion on it because of this boss fight alone, where it is easily the most epic boss fight I've played in recent times. One thing you're also going to see in this fight starting now is that the scale of the fight is insane. Right now, you probably can't even tell because like if you're seeing this for the first time, we're not like a small being, the character we're using right now. Ifrit is actually pretty freaking big, and the fact that he's dwarfed by Titan when like we're fighting him is insane. So like right now we're at a pretty big scale, and as we are going to go on with the fight, you're going to see how the scale just keeps increasing and gets insanely huge, which honestly I didn't even know was possible in games while still looking this good. The reason why I know this game has done something right in terms of mechanics is mainly because the mechanics I'm using right now in the game fighting Titan isn't my normal moveset. Usually Clive, he has these fire moves as you can see on the bottom right, but he usually has moves that are different too. He has access to wind moves, thunder moves, whatever from like different icons. Yeah, so like I'm showing you a few of these here. These are some of the moves you can do. But when you're actually fighting as Ifrit, it kind of limits you down just to the fire moves, but it's the stronger version of this fire moves, which I actually didn't know, I think at this point. So like when you're fighting as Clive as a human, you're able to kind of upgrade your moves in an upgrade tree, and if you actually upgraded those moves as Clive as a human, they would be stronger right now as Ifrit. The reason I'm bringing this up is because usually in boss fights where they kind of strip away your powers and make you use some other kind of being or some other kind of mechanics, usually are not done well. Usually they're like very bad. Anytime I've had a boss fight like that, I never liked it, but with Ifrit, in my opinion, it's done perfectly. They hit the perfect balance of when I'm using Ifrit, I feel insanely powerful. My fireballs are stupid freaking strong compared to my normal Clive fireballs. My hits are insanely strong. They feel nice and heavy, but at the same time, as you can see, I'm not like a slow moving thing. I'm moving around. I'm like sliding around everywhere pretty easily. So they've kept the feeling of heavy hits, but at the same time, it's very maneuverable. And this is also a small detail I want you guys to notice, which usually in games when there's damage numbers, like when you're fighting, I usually like, I don't hate them, but like I don't really see them as necessary because I'm like, whatever, they're just damage numbers. But something I noticed about this game, which I really love, is that you really feel the skill of your attacks because of the damage numbers. Like for example, you see Ifrit doing damage to him, and usually they're like in the tens of thousands or 20,000 or 30,000. That's an insane amount of damage. Clive does not usually go anywhere near that. Usually if I do like an ultimate Clive and like stack a lot of combos, they might get to like 20,000 after the entire combo. The fact that Ifrit in one attack, the one he just did, was 37,000 damage is insane. So that's something I love, because they have numbers. You kind of get to see that this fight isn't only like bigger in scale, but is literally bigger in damage and health. So if this is something that Clive had to fight as a human form, he just wouldn't be able to. He'd just be dead. The 23,000, 74,000, 400,000 I just did there, it barely made a dent in his health, so a Clive, it just wouldn't be possible. And something you might be noticing already in this fight, and as you saw there, something that Final Fantasy 16 does a lot, and I actually like, and this might be an unpopular opinion, and I wish it wasn't, I feel like boss fights need to have more cutscenes and cinematics, and honestly, QuickTime events laced throughout them. Like, look at this. The fact that these are just seamlessly happening during my battle and cutting to this just to make it feel like more of a set piece, I appreciate, because honestly these days the way games are going to, where like it's just a boss fight purely gameplay wise, they don't feel epic to me, because like at that point it's not that different from like any other fight from the game. But the fact that this game is just seamlessly cutting to things like this, where like it just has a voice line, he does some cool freaking move. It says I learned a move, so I literally just learned a new move mid-boss fight through this fight. I thought was freaking insane, and like you actually get to feel like you're evolving during the boss fight as you're playing. So that's something I really love, and I wish more games just had cutscenes like this strewn throughout a boss fight. So Titan's just being like fucking insane right now. He's throwing like a big ass rock at me, and I believe this is where I have to use the new move I learned for the first time.
Let's give this a try.
So it's been a while since I played this game, but this move that I use right now, this brimstone move, I think I ended up really loving it. I think I use it a lot in this fight. Pretty much what you do is just you're just exploding with fire. I like it. It does like a decent amount of damage, and at the same time it's a shield. So like that move that they just teach you mid-combat, I had no idea that move existed. I didn't expect I would be able to use that move obviously in this fight. And the fact that they taught me mid-fight, I really loved, and like yeah, it just became one of my favorite moves that you can use as Ifrit. Yeah, so as you see here, like these boss fights are actually pretty long. It's not like they're like quick boss fights. I've been fighting for a while now, and we're only halfway through his health. Not only are we halfway through his health, like I said, there were actually a few more phases before this that I didn't show where you're fighting as a human. This is like a few phases in, and there is still a lot more to this boss fight, which I love. I think in total, the boss fight, if I count the human forms, is probably around like 40 minutes long or something like that, or 45, I think around there. It's been a while since I played this, but like, especially since it's a real-time game where you like keep moving, my hands were dead by the end of it, but like, I loved every single second of it. So this is the brimstone move again. So I timed the explosion to be at its maximum right when he hit me, so he would take the damage. Just smart stuff like that where you get to time it and like you get a shield at the same time. I just really love that move. And there's one thing throughout this entire thing which I can never stop appreciating about Final Fantasy 16. You can see a lot of shit is happening. My fire effects, these rock effects when he hits me. You see thunder effects happening. This game looks fantastic. Like, not once during me like playing this boss fight or the game in general did it look bad. Like, you can see like the game is looking amazing. There's like nothing bad about the scene. It looks like, honestly, in my opinion, perfect. Because usually when you have boss fights that are really good like this, they have to like do something to compensate, like whether it be graphics are lower or maybe the frame rate drops. That barely happens in this game. Sometimes frame rates do drop once in a while, which I understand, but like in general this game was amazing. And here we have again, yeah, a small cutscene, and we have a QTE. What I love about the QTEs in this game, okay, I just got mollywopped. I don't know if I missed that QTE. I think I missed the QTE. Okay, yeah, but something that I love about this game is, yeah, the QTEs like this, it's not like they're like repetitive bullshit. Like, they're usually different like that one. And what you saw here is that the QTE actually affects his life. That's something I don't think usually happens in games, at least that I played, but like when you actually hit him in a QTE, he will take the damage. So there's sometimes QTEs where you're just flying around in the sky and shooting him. Every single bullet or fireball you hit him with will actually damage him. So that's something that I like, that the QTEs are actually very much a part of the boss fight and actually affect the final result. And so if you miss them, you are kind of f***ed in terms of that. So right now we just finished the Titan phase, and we're going to be going to the next phase. Again, this is another thing I like, that they kind of write the name of the moves even in cutscenes. So they're still trying to keep it within the gameplay even though it's a cutscene. And some of the moves you actually get to use, like the brimstone move a while ago. And starting now is when the boss fight to me just goes from like a 10 out of 10 to like a 15 out of 10. This is probably my favorite part of the boss fight, even though it's simple, which I'm going to talk about, but I freaking love it. I love the scale of it. I love the music. You guys are going to see right now. Already, if you can hear it, the music starts hitting. I don't even like this type of music usually. Like, this is not the type of music I listen to, but like when I was freaking playing this boss fight and this music hit, yo, I leaned into my chair. I'm like, yo, what's going on? We're gonna do some serious things. Titan is freaking massive now. And so this part of the fight, this phase, we're pretty much just gonna have to run to him. And I love it. When I play this, I just leaned into my chair extra fucking hard. The music was hitting. The scale of how big he is, you needing to run to him, it just felt insane. And the reason why I love this is mechanically, this phase is drop dead simple. We're not doing anything special here. Literally all we're doing is, if Ifrit is automatically running, I'm literally just moving left to right to dodge stuff, and I'm ducking, and I can fireball and stuff too. That's all it is. And that's something I actually want to commend the game for, because I know most people who probably didn't play this game, you'll see this like, yo, this sucks. This is just like a railroad section. Like, you're just going straight. Like, there's nothing cool about it. But trust me, when you play it, with the presentation, the graphics, the music, everything together, it makes it like one of the coolest feeling things you do in this game. That's what I love about it. And I think that's what games need to do more of, where it just makes you feel cool, makes you feel like a hero, which this does. And now we're gonna escalate it to 11, where we're pretty much going to be running to Titan on his freaking tendrils. Because when we're running to him, I'm like, yeah, I can't really get cooler, and then it does. I'm like, look at this fucking backflips and shit. We're just fucking, we're god at this point, bro. I effed up. I didn't know how to dodge these properly. I think I'm gonna get hit a lot by these crystals. I can't remember why I was getting hit by it. I think because at this point, I was like 20-30 minutes into the fight, and my hands were hurting. But yeah, like, this part of the fight is just insane to me. And it's just funny too, the way freaking Ifrit's talking. Like, you wouldn't expect this motherfucker to say shit and stuff, but yeah, it's still Clive inside, obviously. So yeah, like, even though like people unexpected, this entire phase of just getting to Titan, I love, because in like a lot of games, this wouldn't be a thing. It's like, for example, you're fighting Hugo as he was human. He will transform, you fight him again. He will transform to this version, which is called Titan Lost, and you just fight him immediately. This game's like, no, you know what? You're gonna have to get to him first. You have to actually transport your freaking body to the bad guy, and then you're gonna get to fight him, which I love. So he's punching you, another QTE here, where you dodge it, and like, this entire thing is amazing. And something I forgot to mention too, I don't know if this is a bad or good thing, it probably depends on you, but when you're using Ifrit, the healing system is different too. So like during the entire fight, I was shitting my pants because like not only is it very long, I did not want to die. This is a game that I really didn't die in until like near the end of the game. I hadn't died yet at this point in the game, so I'm like, yo, I don't want to die. My health's already at half. I don't want to get hit by these QTEs. My fingers were already hurting because of how long this fight was, and I've been throwing these QTEs at me where I got a fucking spam square. So like this fight, I'm like, goddamn, I was on edge the entire time, especially at this part. And this is where we finally get here, where you actually get to fight Titan Lost. So this part is pretty simple. He's just gonna attack you. He'll drop his hand sometimes. If you've played a JRPG, you've 100% seen a boss fight like this. Like that's one of the things I love about Final Fantasy 16, which I actually noticed like right when I started playing the demo when that was out, is this is a game that has AAA and modern graphics, but it has classic JRPG mechanics and sensibilities. Like it feels very classic. But again, I just want to point your attention again to the sense of scale in this fight. We both started as the same size as both humans. Then when he turned into Titan the first time, you saw the size difference then. Look at the size difference now. Look how huge he is compared to me. I can like fit in his head comfortably. That's how big he is now. And the fact that he kept evolving higher and higher, I just freaking love that about this fight. And like I mentioned, you guys might be like assuming like, oh, maybe I have like shit taste in boss fights, or like I said at the start, I hate boss fights like this usually. If it's like a giant boss, hell, even in Final Fantasy 15, the Final Fantasy before this, I remember there being a boss fight where you had to fight a giant. It fucking sucked. It was a horrible boss fight. The mechanics sucked. You were just like floating around the bad guy trying to hit him. It was horrible. And like I usually hate boss fights with giants, but this game just made it so good. They just knew exactly how to keep the mechanics pretty simple yet still fun, and it worked. So we're back at it again. He tries hitting us, and we're going to be climbing his tendrils again, and we're going to be pretty much trying to get closer and closer. So when he turned big, the main goal is just trying to get to him. We actually need to get close to him to like kill him once and for all. So that's kind of the goal now. So like this is me again. I'm fighting again. So that little cutscene, technically it didn't need to happen. If they wanted to, they could have just kept us on the rock and kept us fighting the same. But like changing the settings slightly, this rock is slightly different. It's on a different angle and stuff. Trust me, when you play this, it makes a difference. It makes it feel less like a slog, because if I was just fighting him on that rock platform originally for like 20 minutes, I would be getting bored maybe. But like the fact that they have those QTEs every once in a while, he's doing new moves too, it just keeps the fight interesting. And of course, if you hear in the background that like music is still playing with like vocals, again, this isn't the type of music I usually like, but like whenever a game purposefully makes the music different for a fight, I appreciate it. And like in this moment, I was really liking the music, and I felt like super cool, because if you change the music for this fight, the vibe is completely different. Now they got these fucking opera singers in the back, like it's hitting so damn different. And for people watching this right now, if there is anyone that disagrees with me and actually doesn't like these type of fights, like for example, one of the games I see these days which people love in terms of boss fights in general is Elden Ring. I personally don't like the game that much. That's not my cup of tea. I did play it for a long time. It's still not my cup of tea. From the boss fights I've seen of them, they look really freaking cool, but mechanically I believe they're exactly the same as your normal combat, which to me is like, doesn't make that different from like normal boss fights or like normal fights in general. If you guys disagree with me, please let me know down in the comments. Like I legitimately want to understand why people like the Dark Souls games, because I know a lot of people love them. I just don't see it. So if someone can like explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old why you like those games, I'd appreciate it, because like I'd like to like kind of have a frame of understanding of what makes those games so special to you. And again, my health is still like doing okay-ish. I just healed right now. So as you see on the bottom left, those are my heals. So I have 4 more firelights, and that's all for the fight. So like if I run out of those, I'm screwed. And they didn't even heal that much if you saw my health. It did like a quarter of my health. Technically the 4 firelights I have, that's just like 1 more health bar of healing I have. So like it is pretty high stakes. And I guess this is more specific to the game and not this boss fight, but I might as well mention it. But usually when I play real-time combat games like this, I usually put the difficulty to easy. And the reason that is because, you know, like as a working adult, I just don't have that much time to play games. And if I keep dying on a boss fight because I suck at it, that usually just means I'm gonna have to stop playing the game, because I don't have the time to put in the work to get good at the game. And since I'm usually there just for the story, I just put on easy, and then I get, you know, through the boss fight. And even when I put on easy, that doesn't mean it's actually easy for me. I'm bad at games, so easy is still pretty hard for me. And so one thing I like about this game, and usually I wouldn't, is they don't have difficulty levels, kind of like in Elden Ring. But what they do is the difficulty system is based on items they give you. So they actually have accessories, which makes the game easier if you want to. I can't remember them specifically, but I believe one of the accessories, if you put it on, you dodge automatically. If you put another one on, it might reduce the damage, things like that. So if you do want to have an easier time, you can put those accessories on. If you don't, you don't have to. And so I have none of the accessories on here, but like that is something cool that I noticed about this game, which they did, like they do accessibility in a very interesting way, which I always appreciate. Again, as you're noticing, not a short fight. This is really freaking long. But the most important part of this fight is, even though it's long, it's different. Going back to the Elden Ring example, sorry if you love that game. I only made it early in the game, but whenever I fight boss fights in those type of games where you're just like doing the same thing mechanically, when you're like 20 minutes into a fight like that, it gets boring because you're doing the same shit usually. With this, whether it's changing mechanically or they're playing cutscenes every once in a while, or there's QTEs, or like you're going to a different phase of the fight, it always feels different. Like if you skip like 5 minutes in the fight from anywhere, there's gonna be something happening that kind of regains your interest in the fight again. So that's just something I really appreciate, and the game designers clearly really thought about pretty well when doing this. And now, completely new mechanic again, hanging off this meteor, and we're pretty much shooting at other rocks to make sure we don't die. And this is going back to my running example. Mechanically, this is dead simple. I bet on my life that you guys have probably played a game like this at like your local Chuck E. Cheese or some shit, where you're just moving an aiming thing and like fighting bad guys or whatever the hell and shooting them. But during the game, this just hits so fucking well, because not only does it look cool, but two, again, this is probably like 20 to 30 minutes into the boss fight. My fingers need a break. I cannot be like going full on for like 100% of the time. So I bet the reason they added parts like this in the boss fight is so you kind of get a break too. It's like instead of needing to focus 100% on fighting Titan, now it's like, okay, it's simpler. All you gotta do is move an analog stick to aim and shoot. This is your break. Take it easy, but soon you know you're gonna go back into the real fight again. And now we're finally on top of Hugo, which Ifrit was trying to get to. So we're gonna jump at his Aeus. We throw his tendril at his own head. Then we're gonna do some good shit. Oh, that's dope as shit. I didn't even remember this drop kick, bro. That's what I did. This fucking is so anime. That was like completely anime, man. Imagine a beast that big just drop kicking your ass. And then you punch through the entire tendril and you are now inside Hugo. 2.7 million damage. So like I said, the QTEs and cutscenes, you do damage. So we did 2.7 million damage with that attack, which is fair. You threw a big ass tendril at him and we dodged this shit. I guess Hugo is like a small version of himself in his big Titan, and this is another phase of the fight, and this is pretty much going to be the final phase of the fight. And again, mechanically, this is different. We haven't done this mechanically, so this is like normal fighting technically, but we're in the air, so the movement is kind of different. We're inside Titan, falling down towards the ground and shit, so like, it's pretty insane what's going on. And something I really like about this fight is that we're back down on scale, because realistically, if you're fighting a monster that was as big as Titan lost, you probably have to kill the small thing, like the actual human or whatever. So the fact that we started at Hugo, then we went to Titan, then we went to Titan lost, and now we went back to Titan to try to kill him once and for all. I love that. Like everything about this fight, storytelling wise and gameplay, it just hits so right for me. So in this fight, like one of the main things that you have to focus on is that the Hugo would be hitting you and then you'd have to dodge it. So like he would have like some tells, like he would glow yellow to hit you. Right now I knocked his ass out, so he's just fucking falling like a goof. I love it. I love the staggering system in this game. I don't think I talked about it, where you just stagger them and they're just like knocked out for a bit. That's where like a lot of your damage comes, and I love that they give you your total. So I did like about 480,000. And again, the music. If you guys are listening to the music, that shit is going hard, bro. Like, there's no way you're at this part of the game and you're not fucking high off your gourd with how good this music is, because it's so damn good. So Hugo's doing some next shit now. Like, I think that was a new move where he punched the wall and it rocks towards you. So like, in a sense, it feels kind of real because he's not like doing the exact same move each time. It seems like a dude who is very desperate, trying to kill you, because he knows he's like getting his ass kicked. He's about to die, so he's like, yo, I gotta do whatever I can to beat your ass. And one thing I want to say, in case anyone is interested in playing this game and you haven't, this isn't the only boss fight that feels this epic on scale. I think this one is my favorite in terms of scale and epicness, but there are so many other boss fights where I'm like, these are good, and I have recorded them too. So if you want to see more of them, let me know. If you want to see more of these commentaries on the bosses, I thought not only in this game but in other games, let me know. I'd be happy to do them. We're just punching the shit. Again, anime punch where you're punching his face and he's like reeling, and like, I love it. This game is just like 100% anime in terms of the fights, and it's so damn cool. This guy's gonna freaking mollywop you to the ground at full speed. My man just said because he knows he's dying. This is something that I love. So like Titan, the one you're fighting, he pretty much uses these crystals to get stronger and like armor himself. So if it's like, you know what, bro? Like, why don't I try doing it? He pretty much just like becomes like a cooler fucking version of himself, puts on rock armor, and you're gonna fight him with this now. Because logically in the world it makes sense. It's like if Titan can do it, like why not you? You're both icons, like let's do this thing. And so like you're gonna be throwing like one-to-one punches with him now with these rock arms, and like on one side it looks kind of stupid, I'm not gonna lie. On the other hand, like who cares, bro? Look at this, bro. You know, you've seen that punching scene in anime before, 100%, where they're just fucking punching and punching on each other's hands. Hell yeah, bro, let's go. And I love at this part of the fight, we're just doing QTEs. And that's something I love too, is that if you were paying attention, we technically beat him a while ago in terms of the actual fighting. What they do is when you actually kill him, his health isn't done, and then the rest of his health is taken down through QTEs to make it feel more epic, and it works. And that is where we finally defeat Titan with that final hit. Thank you guys for watching this video on Final Fantasy 16's Titan versus Ifrit boss fight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you want more of this type of video where I pretty much just take a concept, talk about it, give my thoughts on it, and maybe even break down a boss fight like this, let me know. If you want more boss fights from this game, let me know. If you want more boss fights from other games, let me know. The comments are there for a reason. And if you haven't already, we did an insane video on a GTA heist that we did with ChatGPT. Yeah, it's right on the screen. Press it right now.